Hey Pika, what are you doing?
I'm busy.
Justin has got a new video out.
I don't care. I've had enough of him. I'm not doing it.
Oh come on, you know you can't resist a bit of lol cow Justin milking.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. What's it take for a godlike entity to be able to have a fucking shit in peace round here? Let's just say hypothetically I was going to talk about it. You know it makes me ill every time I fucking see him, so, you know, he'd better be talking about something decent.
He's talking about Nazis. You know you want to.
Oh, go on then. But just this once, alright? I'm not going to make any more of a habit out of it. Justin's far too low-hanging fruit to keep making videos on. Just let me finish up here and... there we go. Right.
Oh thank fuck, I'm busting for a slash. Wait, what the fucking fuck? It reeks in here, you filthy bastard. Has anyone got a match?
Right then, slimy fertilers. Yes indeed, Justin has got a video out in which he basically tries to rationalise violence against people being okay, provided that your politics are right according to his subjective worldview. So let's get straight in there.
Last week, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, white nationalists, and KKK members held a Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Fuck's sakes, I should have known that had happened.
On Friday night, they marched with torches and chanted the Nazi slogan, blood and soil, along with other racist chants.
Yes, blood and soil is indeed a traditional neo-Nazi chant. They quite often use it at their rallies all over the world in various languages. Jews will not replace us. I haven't seen any footage or heard anything from people doing that. I have heard people chanting, "You will not replace us," referring, of course, to white people being displaced by people of other races. You know, basically white neighbourhoods that have always been traditionally white being suddenly moved into by Hispanic and other foreign ethnicities. They do have a right to protest the fact that they're being displaced in favour of people of different races. I mean, this isn't racist to do that, you know, showing concern for your where you live. Is certainly not racist. There are black people who do exactly the same thing, but they're not considered racist. So to say that "you will not replace us" is a racist slogan is well, it's pulling it a little bit too far.
A group of counter-protesters were there.
Don't you mean Antifa, comrade Jens?
And they were completely surrounded by the Nazis. On
I think we should insert the comedic reference to the Siege of Stalingrad right here, mein Liebchens.
Saturday, the Nazis and the counter-protesters showed up again. This time, the Nazis shouted homophobic things like "fuck you, faggot,"
which comes under their constitutional right to free speech, as it's not illegal to insult people.
Many of them were carrying shields, guns, Confederate flags, and Nazi flags.
Indeed, on the Saturday, a lot of people turned up wearing armour and carrying weapons, and oddly enough, so did the people on the kind of white nationalist side. You have to ask yourself, though, why people turned up armed and everything. And the reason is because they were looking for trouble. Pure and simple, they were looking for trouble. This is why President Trump blamed both sides for the violence, because on the one side you had the white nationalists and the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan members and stuff like that, wearing helmets and carrying shields emblazoned with the American fascist logo, stuff like that. You have them carrying bats and chains and stuff like that. There's a few people did actually turn up with firearms. Although there was a picture going around of some guys wearing basically like tactical gear, carrying rifles. These were not actually white nationalists. What they were members of a local kind of militia group who had no particular political leanings whatsoever, but they came along using their right to open carry and just basically to come down, and if any trouble kicked off they were willing to use their firearms to help keep the peace. One of the other things you have to ask yourself in this is, where were the police? Well, the police were also stood there wearing helmets, body armour, carrying shields and various weapons, and they stood there and did fuck all because they've been told not to interfere. Kind of defeats the object of having a police presence, don't you think?
Then one of them drove his car into a crowd of counter-protesters, injuring 19 people and killing one.
Okay, so there are only two videos knocking about that I've seen that clearly show the car incident as it happens. One is taken from the left-hand side of the car, and it shows the car basically about a fraction of a second after it had collided with the car in front. The car then stops for pauses for a few seconds and then begins reversing. The second video shows from down the street from behind the car, which shows the car driving fairly slowly up the road, where it's then surrounded by a group of, we'll call them counter-protesters, one of whom strikes the back of the car with some sort of bat or pole or something like that. The car then shoots forward, and that's when the crash occurred. You can see people getting hit and knocked out of the way in that second video. Just based on that alone, based on viewing those two videos alone, it really is impossible to discern any kind of motivation for crashing a car into a crowd full of people. When you look at the second video from behind, if the guy driving actually did want to kill people, all he would have had to do was just pull to the right or the left and drive up onto the pavement, and he could have gotten a few more than one, and he wouldn't have crashed into the back of another car. On the other hand, he could have just literally, somebody could have hit the back of his car and he could have just thought, fuck it, and put his foot down. The point is, we don't actually know. So to draw any conclusions at this stage it's not a very good idea. If the guy actually did decide to do that and drive into people, then yes, as I previously said in my other video where I talked about this a little bit, the guy does deserve to be put to death for it, death sentence, because doing something like that it's just fucking reprehensible on all levels.
Heather Heyer was murdered by a Nazi during a Nazi rally as she fought against racism and white supremacy.
Oh, Justin, citations needed if you please. There is no evidence whatsoever that the guy who was driving the car was a Nazi. There is no evidence whatsoever that the events of Saturday in Charlottesville were a Nazi rally. So basically what you've done is you're just pulling this shit out of your fucking arse to fit the narrative. As has been said before, on both Friday and Saturday, people from all walks of life came down to the protest. There were neo-Nazis there were Ku Klux Klan members, there were white supremacists, there were white nationalists, there were also, like I say, people concerned with historical revisionism, people not wanting to have monuments torn down in general. On the other side there were, communists, Marxists, anarcho-communists, people who just don't like racism, which is fine, people who don't like white nationalism or white supremacy, which is fine, but to make the blanket statement that everybody that was there that wasn't on the counter-protest side is a Nazi is just so fucking ridiculous. It beggars belief to hear someone who tries to claim that he's quite intelligent to open his mouth and shit that stuff out. I'd fetch you some toilet paper for your face because you don't need to worry about shit coming out of your arse because it's coming out of your mouth.
What about the violence that Black Lives Matter and anti-fascists have caused?
Oh yeah, those bastards, the people who condemn violence out of hand. Don't they realise that violence inflicted by BLM and Antifa is righteous and holy?
But the problem with that is that it's drawing a false equivalence. Violence is inherent to Nazi ideology.
Yeah, because as we all know, the Kommunisten have never killed anyone in the entire existence of communism or Marxism.
Black Lives Matter, on the other hand, is an organization that states very specifically that its goals are to end violence and discrimination against black people.
By inflicting violence on persons or property that they deem be the enemy, and who the enemy is entirely subjective to whatever point in time that the person who decides to throw a brick through a fucking window decides it is.
Their official website says, Black Lives Matter is working for a world where black lives are no longer systematically and intentionally targeted for demise.
Yeah, and I once saw a website that said if I gave somebody my credit card details, that they would send me several £1,000,000. What someone says on a website and what they actually do in practice are two completely different things, as I'm still waiting for my delivery of several £1,000,000. If you seriously, after what we've seen of Black Lives Matter, believe that they are a peaceful movement to make conditions and lifestyle better for black people, you are sadly deluded. Black Lives Matter is nothing more than a black supremacist movement which aims to cause as much trouble as possible. They want things giving for free, they don't want to earn it, they want everything giving. They want people to just give them money, give them goods, give them whatever. They don't want to take any responsibility for their actions. They even discriminate against other black people because they don't agree with what they're doing. And they also discriminate against people who do believe what they're doing, but their skin isn't dark enough. So you've got black people turning on black people just to get free stuff, which is all that they're wanting. They're wanting a government run by blacks. They're wanting all the money in the country to be given to black people. It's not going to work. It's never going to happen. And quite why this kind of thing is being tolerated, or has been tolerated as long as it has been, is just, it's mind-boggling. They have Black Lives Matter marchers going through the streets, smashing up cars, setting fire to things, smashing up shops, beating people up, directly inciting violence against police officers and members of the public, but yet they're allowed to do it. When some, white nationalists or whatever gather, every single mainstream media organisation in the world immediately condemns it and calls them all fucking Nazis. A group of white people doesn't always have to be a meeting of Nazis or white supremacists or whatever. A meeting of black people doesn't have to be black supremacy either, but when they are walking down the street with banners saying Black Lives Matter and chanting, things like pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon and shit like that, pulling people out of cars and kicking the fuck out of them just because they're white, they're just as much of a domestic terrorist organisation as what fucking Antifa are.
Any large enough group, someone will commit violence. What matters is if that group's ideology promotes that violence.
Like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon, pigs.
In 2016, when a black man shot and killed 5 white police officers, the Black Lives Matter movement immediately condemned it and said that they call for an end to violence.
Yeah, that hasn't stopped them from doing it though, has it?
But after Heather Heyer was killed, Chris Cantwell, one of the leaders of the Unite the Right rally, said that her murder was justified.
Yeah, and he's a fucking knobhead for saying it.
In fact, in 2014, when 2 police officers were murdered, Cantwell said that their deaths were good news. During the Unite the Right rally, he said, "We are not non-violent. We'll fucking kill these people if we have to." And afterwards, he said, "A lot more people are gonna die before we're done here, frankly."
Yeah, he's still a fucking knobhead. What's your point?
The Black Lives Matter movement has always been non-violent and has always called for an end to violence.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Justin, you fucking moron. Oh, that's it, I'm done. Link to Justin's full video will be in the description, as I have snipped some bits out of it, and I'm finishing it there. I don't know how much is left on the video. I can't take any more of this. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. Follow me on Twitter. I now also have a channel on VidMe, so link will be in the card on screen and in the description below. If you're feeling really generous, please feel free to make a donation to my PayPal. Any and all donations are welcome and received with thanks. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.